Welcome to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro New Zealand, the podcast series dedicated to exploring technology-related insights with market-leading guests. I'm your host, Jamie Hall, and today I'm here with Carlin Diprose, Commercial Intel Ambassador at HP. In this episode, we dive into the fast-paced world of endpoint device solutions. We discuss where next for hybrid working, exciting enhancements driving smarter work, and buying tips to navigate the hype. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts. Awesome, welcome along. It's great to have you here.
Oh, mate, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
No worries, we'll jump straight in. And for those that don't know, you, tell us a bit about yourself.
So, where do we start? I guess professionally, I've been at HP for 8 years as of the 27th of November. So depending on when this podcast comes out, that may be past, present, future. I don't know, sometime close to that date. But yeah, so I started in 2016 with the retail team as a territory rep. So my background before that was in retail, and I was mostly doing product training, merchandising with all of our major retailer partners. And after a couple of years of doing that, an opportunity came up with the commercial team as a product evangelist. And since then, I've been doing sort of some different version of that role ever since.
Oh, cool. And your latest iteration of the role is now ANZ.
Yes. So as of the start of this year, in February, started a new role as the Commercial Intel Ambassador at HP. And so basically reducing my portfolio of products that I take care of to specifically the ones powered by Intel processors. And honestly, I've absolutely loved it. Been traveling around Australia, traveling around New Zealand, and just really just making sure that everyone else knows about all of the exciting new innovations from both companies. So
awesome. Now, still focusing on the professional side, but I wonder whether it does blend a little bit into your personal passions. For those that don't follow you on LinkedIn at the moment, I would always recommend to follow Carlin, But you do a lot of unboxing videos and value-add videos around technology. Has that pulled in from a personal passion, or is that kind of developed from a professional side?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorite things about what I do is the more, the creative side of things. It kind of all started, to be honest, in COVID times, start of 2020, when we all went into lockdown, and I just went, wait, my whole job is going out to see people and chatting with them, having conversations about new technology. And so I just sort of scrambled to think, how can I still, get all of the info out to our partners, to our customers, and just started making videos at home in my bedroom. I didn't even have a camera at the time. During lockdown, I was with my family, and so I just borrowed my dad's camera. And just, started putting this stuff out on LinkedIn, and the reception to it was really positive, to the point where when we came out of lockdown, there were opportunities to get funding for videos in studios and, just sort of take them to a whole new level. And it's just something that's carried on. And even, sort of since doing that, I've just in my spare time done some photography and other sort of visual media work that has just really just fueled that passion. So to be honest, the more of that I can do, the happier I am.
Great, and it's always good to have that balance, right? It keeps everything interesting.
For sure.
Now, I want to go back to the ANZ aspect of your role. You must engage across so many businesses in New Zealand and Australia and partners, all organisations. You must see a vast range of working environments. Is there anything that you can kind of share in that space around what you're seeing at the moment?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think most of the businesses that I've come across that are at least putting technology somewhat in the front of minds in terms of how they're investing in their business. There's been a big focus, particularly, of course, since the pandemic, on, hybrid work, but more specifically, when I say hybrid work there, I mean remote work. There's been a big focus on that and making sure that users and employees are equipped to be able to work from home. But of course, now we're sort of starting to see a bit of a swing where organizations, they want employees back in the office, at least to a certain degree. And they're sort of facing these challenges now of having an environment where potentially the technology is not actually up to scratch with what they've been providing employees at home. And so, yeah, a lot of thought that's now going a lot more into the four walls of the office and just how that experience can be just as good, regardless of where you're working. So that evolving sort of hybrid trend is very much focused more towards not just home. It's about working from everywhere.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting. And leading up to our conversation today, I was doing a little bit of research and a little bit of searching around, and I found a report and study done by CBRE, New Zealand organisation, and it showed that in-office weekly working hour average has actually increased, which is no surprise, to be fair. But in the legal sector, that's up to 4.1 days on average.
Yeah.
So we've really seen a shift. Have you seen the technology and device, anything specific you can share in there that's materially changed? Or is it more just an evolution?
Yeah, well, I think in terms of the products that HP has been putting out recently, there's been a big focus on the meeting experience when you are either in a boardroom meeting, whether you are dialing into a Teams call from home, or a bit of a mix. Currently, at least in terms of HP's figures, about 50% of meetings are a mix of remote and in-person together. And so with that, it's the focus from HP, and especially with our new portfolio of products that have come from Poly, creating that sort of larger ecosystem, it's really just about meeting equity. So yeah, regardless of where you are, having that sort of equal voice and equal presence in a meeting.
It's great to actually see the Poly logo appearing on devices now. I think that brand has a lot of equity and a lot of trust in the market, and it's great to see that combination and that collaboration coming together on your device.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, that's the thing. We've had Poly as a part of the HP brand for sort of, about 2 years now, and obviously the headsets, the meeting room solutions, that's been all fantastic. But now to see some of that actually make its way into the notebooks, into our personal systems products is exciting. And I think it's going to lead to, just a much more consistent, better user experience across that ecosystem.
Great. And I mentioned that CBRE study before. While I was browsing through that, I did also see a really cool pie graph in there, and we'll share the link in the description for anyone that's interested to see the full detail.
Awesome.
But it was talking about while social events and activities were ranked the highest for attracting people back to the office, employers really using that to try and bring people back, improved technology ranks second above pretty much everything else. I thought that was really interesting. How do you measure success, though? I mean, I think a business, if they're going to invest in technology to try and attract people back, how might they measure that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, in terms of obviously attracting people back into the office, in terms of better technology, that makes sense, right? In terms of if you can provide that better, more seamless user experience for employees, then they're just going to have a better time working.
Yeah.
But in terms of if you've got money to invest, obviously you want to be investing that into areas where you can see increased productivity for your employees. And essentially, that money should be going towards generating more value, right, from and for your business. But in terms of some of the tools from HP that we've been seeing more recently, there's a lot more sort of advanced tools that are out there now that are powered by AI to generate all sorts of insights that we wouldn't necessarily have been able to see before without it. And I mean, even our Proactive Insights platform as well for more intelligent fleet management, being able to use that to make sure that every single device in your fleet is being utilized properly, and again, being able to see those kind of insights into how you can better manage that fleet. And again, just get the best value out of it, and make your devices last longer as well. Know ahead of time when batteries need to be replaced in them, when potential components may fail before it actually happens, so that you're reducing downtime for those employees, and again, making sure that they can be productive when they want to be.
Nice. And in my travels, you mentioned before about some of those tools. One that I saw pop up just recently, and I'll share a link in the description as well. There was a workforce experience platform that HP has just started talking about that looks really interesting, and I think there's some magic in there that's going to help measure some productivity,
100%.
which would be great.
Yeah.
Now, on the hybrid working topic, where do you think we're going next? What do you think we're going to see next in that kind of evolution, maybe from a trend, but also potentially from a technology perspective?
Yeah, well, I guess from the technology side of things, at least in terms of what's in the works from HP, I think you can expect to see some pretty amazing new products relating to, again, the collaboration experience in and out of the office. And I think when it comes to remote workers in particular, making it just more and more feel as though they're in the room. There's something that HP's been working on with some of the new poly technology that we've got to play around with, and I think possibly even a collaboration with Google. Picture you walk into a meeting room and there is a wall in front of you right at the edge of the table, and that wall, which is almost sort of a giant screen in itself, is going to present to you a remote user to make it look as though they are physically sitting in front of you. And there's, as far from what I've seen at least, some really exciting AI technology that's powering it as well, because obviously when you've got a wall type thing like that, you're going to have a bunch of cameras, but at the same time, you've got to make sure that it looks as though the remote user is actually looking you directly in the eyes. And so there's actually a lot of stuff, a lot of really interesting technology under the hood that's going to lead to that, I guess, believable experience to make it feel as though you do physically have someone in front of you.
I think it's fair to say if you don't have a link to either a Zoom or a Teams or whatever your remote engagement software is, collaboration software is, if you don't have one of those on your meetings now, you've got to do it last second, because somebody is going to be dialing in or connecting in separately. But it is always a bit of a disconnect sometimes. Well, it is sometimes a disconnect when they're dialing in and you can't quite see who it is, or maybe, So I think anything in that space would be pretty exciting.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, even now, like even in 2024, we still have people out there who are walking into a boardroom and they are connecting to a meeting online, and they're still wasting the first 10 minutes of that call trying to get set up properly, trying to get seen and heard properly. And I mean, all I'll say is, at least in my very non-biased opinion, the general experience for Poly users, for HP users, is definitely some of the best, for sure.
Great. Now, when it comes to devices specifically, what are some of the most exciting advancements that you've seen this year, 2024, but more specifically that are driving sort of more smarter work experiences?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess there's a few directions that we can go with here, but I guess in terms of what's really resonated with customers the most, and to be honest, it's probably a little bit of a surprise, at least comparing to what we were expecting at the start of the year, because I think at the start of the year we were really expecting a big boom in personal systems around AI, and I think for a lot of people it is very that resonates a lot. But then at the same time, I think we've just had a bit of a there's been a lot of AI washing to the point where some of us now have AI washing machines and dryers, and yet it doesn't seem to really affect how long that wash goes for anyway. But no, it while I do very much believe that AI PCs and the new technologies that we've seen this year going into these devices is going to be something that every single person in a couple of years is going to benefit from, even though they might not necessarily think about the AI technologies. But in terms of what really, really has resonated overall, at least in the notebook space, is battery life. and some of the changes that has been happening to how the processors inside these machines are consuming power, that seems to be what resonates the most, being able to get that 20 hours of battery in real world situations, not just having your screen turned off, your Wi-Fi turned off, and not using it for anything. It's actual 20 hours of using office productivity tools, or even now, the new stuff that we're seeing, getting 10 hours of non-stop Teams calls. And that is actually what customers are seeming to prioritize, is that kind of thing. So while there's been so many amazing innovations happening this year, it's interesting that it's the bare basics that people care about the most.
I think you've hit onto something though there, because it wasn't that long ago, if you were on a Teams call, you wanted to blur your background maybe, you're dialing in, and you weren't connected to power, it was, you didn't get very long before your device was on, low battery.
Yeah. And I mean, even like in terms of that stuff, some of the more advanced features when you're on a Teams call, like blurring your background, and the other AI accelerated features, automatic framing, all that sort of stuff. Now, with newer AI PCs, there is a whole extra dedicated piece of hardware where all of that AI compute is being offloaded, and so your CPU and your GPU is no longer having to handle that stuff. And what that's leading to is lower power. All of those advanced features are using so much less of your battery life. And so again, when you're on a Teams call, you might not necessarily be thinking, oh wow, I'm an AI user now, but you are still benefiting from these AI technologies, which again is going to lead to better battery life, which allows you to be more productive.
Nice. And from a collaboration tool side of things, is there anything to call out in that space that's maybe been transforming the way we work?
Yeah, well, there's all sorts of, again, collaboration tools that are using AI features in them, and that list is continuing to grow. I even saw a tool where you can load a PowerPoint presentation into it, and it will convert it into a full video with people in it that look like people. They're not people, they're AI generated, and they'll be talking, and they'll be presenting that PowerPoint content, and you can even change the language for it and all that sort of stuff. And so again, in terms of how we engage with audiences over Teams or however it is, there's some amazing stuff that we can now do for higher levels of engagement that has just never been possible before. And that's just obviously one example.
Yeah. Now I'm going to change gears a little bit here and talk about recycled materials. There's a lot of noise, and we're talking about hype before with AI, but I think there is also a lot of noise around sustainability and recycled materials. But I'd love to quiz you a little bit on what are kind of the key factors to consider when you're in that purchasing mode that really do matter in that space.
Yeah, well, you're 100% right in the fact that as much as there has been AI washing and a lot of companies slapping an AI sticker onto something to try and make it sell better, it's a very similar thing for sustainability, right? And that's what we'd call greenwashing, right? But when it comes to HP specifically, we are a genuinely sustainable company. And when it comes to our products specifically, we have more products in our portfolio that are registered EPEAT Gold, so electronic product environmental assessment tool, globally recognized energy efficiency and sustainability tool. We have way more gold registered products than any other technology company. In fact, when it comes to our competitors, we've got, in a lot of instances, double the number of EPEAT Gold registered products. And so the proof is in the pudding there. I mean, we're at the point where we've got over 500 million kgs of recycled materials in our products. And when you look at some of the new stuff, like this is the 1040 EliteBook G11, and the aluminium chassis in this, 90% of the aluminium chassis is recycled. But I mean, it goes just beyond that. There's some really unique innovations in there as well. The keyboard is made using recycled fishing nets. The bezels and the display is made using recycled cooking oil. And so we're actually, yeah.
Really?
Well, even some of the, I think it's the commercial displays have a very small level of recycled coffee grounds in them. And so one of the aims with this is to continue with each generation to reduce the amount of raw materials that are used, but also very intentionally targeting key waste products that are out there. So there's a lot of fishing nets that go into the ocean. There's a lot of cooking oil that is often wasted and not disposed of properly. And so being able to take those sort of key high waste products and give them a second life is a big focus there.
You talked about coffee grounds, and I like that one because it's actually also a visual representation in that product.
Yeah.
So really quite cool because it's not only using the material, but it actually adds to the design and how it looks and feels, which is quite cool.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, beyond the materials as well, one thing that's new to the G11 products is an energy consumption dashboard that is built into all of the PCs. And so that's accessible at a user level. The user can see what the power consumption is of their device throughout the day, the week, the month, even per application. Even more powerfully than that, though, that telemetry can go back into that proactive insights platform as well. So as an IT manager, you can actually see with real-time data what the energy consumption is of all of those devices in the fleet. And even, I mean, sustainability is durability as well. Devices that actually last. HP, I mean, we've got a less than 1% failure rate in our, across our products. And that is partly because of the pretty rigorous mil-spec testing that these devices go through for drops and compression and extreme temperatures, dust. There's at least 21 of them that they go through just to ensure that it's suitable for a range of pretty rugged commercial environments.
Now, still on the buying tips topic, but I'm going to go back to AI very quickly. I know we have already touched on it, but AI-enhanced PCs, it's expected to rapidly grow from here, all right? Like we're at the very beginning of a very exciting journey in that space, but there's already several options available. So, thinking about buying tips, how do organizations navigate all of that hype and start to really get down to what is important to them now, but also future-proofing them?
Yeah. So you're right. I mean, there's been a lot of noise in this space recently, and it can be kind of hard to cut through, especially when it comes to AI. All I would say is work with partners that you trust, that are trusted, advisors in the technology space, and I very much see HP as one of those. I mean, we've got a long history in technology, and even in just New Zealand specifically, we've been here over 50 years in New Zealand. And I guess outside of that is invest in yourself. Invest in AI. AI is not a fad or a trend that's going to go away. This is a technology that is here to stay. And to be honest, we probably don't even really know what it looks like or what it's going to look like in even just 12 months. So I would say take the time to clue yourself in on this stuff. And I mean, if you're really serious about this, I mean, I think organizations, at least for now, should be almost investing in dedicated AI people, because what's happening in that space and in the technology is changing almost every single day. And you need to be across it, because not only are the organizations that understand this technology going to really thrive, because if they know how to really use those tools, they're just going to have such an advantage over everyone else. But of course, on the flip side, if you don't get your head around these new technologies and how you can utilize them for your employees, because everyone will use it slightly different. If you don't do that, you are going to really struggle, I think, competitively.
Yeah, and I think with the AI PC now in play, but still having those maybe non-AI PCs available in market, right now it might seem like a great idea because maybe not seeing the value right now. But if you're purchasing right now, that device is going to be with you for 2-3 years potentially.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
And, it might not notice it right this very second, but in a year's time, there might be that regret that you didn't have that an AI-enabled feature set ready to go.
Yeah, no, for sure. And all you have to look is a whole list of all the applications that you're currently using, that your employees are using, and see how many of them actually have AI features. You don't have to be an AI user or sort of identify as an AI user to be benefiting from AI, and whether it's your security tools, your collaboration tools, anything, they're probably using AI to some degree. And again, even, when it comes to something like Copilot, for example, because that is probably going to be one of the more broadly applicable tools for knowledge workers, there's probably, not even probably, there are so many users that are currently using Copilot that aren't actually getting any value from it or any benefit. And it's just because it's a new way of working and they just haven't worked that out yet. But if you can crack that and work out how it can really generate value for you, then that's going to unlock whole other possibilities.
I totally agree with that. So looking a bit broader now, there is still a lot of hype in the market. We've talked about a couple of different topics. Is there any other buying tips or suggestions you would have for organisations out there when they're going through that device strategy or maybe that buying cycle at the moment?
Yeah. So I think first and foremost, as I sort of mentioned earlier, definitely making sure that you're partnering with trusted advisors, with resellers, with vendors, etc., that you do really trust in this space. And again, I very much see HP as a trusted advisor and thought leaders in technology. But at the same time, identify what are those pain points for your users, and again, how can we enable better productivity? So one such area again is security. Well, actually, not just security, but manageability as well. Over 60% in terms of the numbers that HP has, over 60% of IT decision makers, IT admins, see that sort of their greatest weakness right now in IT is the potential of hybrid users being compromised. And so, investing in modern security and manageability tools. Quick plug to our Wolf Connect and Wolf Protect and Trace service, which basically just allows you with some of our newer devices to be able to remotely locate, lock, and even wipe them, even when they're powered off, even when they're not connected to the internet. Yep, even when they're not connected to the internet, which is crazy. We can do that. There's amazing manageability tools to make sure that your IP, all of your data is protected. Another one is, of course, already touched on collaboration as well, making sure that experience with your users, regardless of where they are, regardless of where they are, having that sort of equity in meetings. And also, make sure that your users have the latest, most powerful technology as well. I know that on average, and part of this data comes from our Proactive Insights tool with all the telemetry that we pulled there, on average, CPU and memory utilization has gone up in recent years. On average, it used to be around sort of 50%. Now it's at 70%.
Wow.
So the demand from our applications, from the workloads, has actually gone up.
It's fair to assume it's going to continue as well.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I think with that, having technology that is more efficient, consuming less power, is just as important for that as well. Because if tools are getting more powerful, if the technology is not upgrading with that, then your battery life is going to get worse and worse and worse, and you're going to become more and more restricted, with less ability to work where you feel most productive.
I think you've touched on something interesting there, because again, it wasn't that long ago that you probably look at purchasing a device and think about specs. What's the hardware specs of it? But it's also the software that is connected to it. And I haven't heard the term bloatware for a while now, and I know I call it an old term now, but there is so much awesome technology from a software perspective now that needs to be considered when you're going through that buying process. It's not just about the hardware specs. That's so important, but if the software's not right, then it's not going to utilize that hardware the right way.
Oh, 100%. And I think software optimization is a key part of that better productivity as well. And I think, the optimization is something that I've begun to talk more about since just learning more about the Intel technologies specifically, because that's one of the big points of difference for them. If we talk, I mean, again, it's not all about AI performance, but if we use AI performance as an example right now, quite often when we talk about AI specifically in PCs, we talk about TOPS, trillions of operations per second, and it's sort of a fairly simple way of measuring AI performance, but it's such a small piece of real world AI performance. The most important part is software optimization, and I could point to. I mean, I won't name and shame, but Intel's competitors. If you compare apples to apples. So, in many instances, these Intel-powered devices that we have is actually going to give better AI performance than other products that are out there that may potentially have higher TOPS on their NPU or the GPU or whatever it is, but not as well optimized for the software. And so, I'd say, again, talk to those trusted advisors that you really do trust in that space to learn, what's actually going to perform best for my workloads, for the applications that I'm using.
Awesome. Now, before I let you go, we've got the same segment that we run with every guest that comes on, called 5 and 5. I'm going to ask you 5 questions, approximately 5-second answer per question. So here we go. First one, what book, app, or show would you miss the most on a deserted island?
Ooh, what book, app, or show? Well,
that's about 5 seconds. I'm gonna go for it.
The one that I'd miss the most on a deserted island. I mean, look, my favorite show of all time that I always go back to every couple of years is Breaking Bad. So let's say Breaking Bad.
There you go. All right. Next one. What's your favorite movie featuring AI?
That's an easy one. The second Blade Runner movie, Blade Runner 2049 with Ryan Gosling.
Great.
Great movie. And I think more relevant than ever with all of the new stuff happening with AI, even though it's 7 years old now.
Yeah. Okay, next one. What does your social media algorithm think you're obsessed with?
Oh, as of lately, it's probably a little bit embarrassing, but in the last couple of months, I've just been getting more and more relationship memes because my girlfriend keeps sending them to me, and so it just keeps on stimulating that algorithm. On the flip side, her algorithm really thinks that she now loves Lord of the Rings memes because those are the ones that I love. So we just keep sharing those with each other.
Oh, great. Okay, what piece of outdated technology do you miss the most, and why? As
someone who's a cinema lover, I would say celluloid film. I've got a real love for just the look of celluloid film, and of course these days it's just so much cheaper to shoot on digital. So most films are not shot on actual celluloid film anymore. I'd love to see a renaissance of it, just because. Yeah, I'm just a sucker for that stuff.
Fair enough. And last question I've got: if you could share one game-changing productivity tip, what would it be and why?
Oh, I would say find your AI superpower. For me, with the amount of videos that I create and everything, the game really changed when I really took the time to learn about the new AI tools or AI features that are in the Adobe tools. It changed aspects of my workflow from, hours of time to, in some situations, seconds of time. It's absolutely nuts what I could do. So whatever your workflow is, whatever tools you're using, find that AI superpower and how it can just absolutely flip the script for you.
I like that one. That's awesome. Thanks for joining us. It's been great to have you.
Mate, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for tuning in today, and a special thanks to HP for sponsoring this episode. If there are any guests or topics you'd like to see featured, connect with me on LinkedIn. You'll find the links in the description. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you next time.